All right, welcome to the Collector Car podcast. Before we get to the main interview for this episode, I wanted to invite Michael Zimmerman on. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Now, I've worked with you in the past for Sotheby's Motorsports, also known as SOMO, Sotheby's online platform, and I thought it'd be fun just to share some of the cars that are active at this moment as you listen to this podcast, and also just maybe first give an overview as far as how SOMO works.
Yeah, it's almost very easy. I mean, it basically takes the collector car market online. It's 14-day online auctions, 24/7. We handle basically the process A to Z, from photography, getting the car listing built, even post sale. We handle escrow payment, transport for the buyer. So we really handle every step of the process, just making that taking the ambiguity out of online selling.
Yeah, I love that. And as a car specialist with RM Sotheby's, if it wasn't a home at like, Monterey or Miami or Scottsdale, it was nice to know we had a home for those cars that maybe weren't $1 million cars, but they were $100,000 cars or $200,000 cars. And I know if you go to the website right now, there's a lot of quote unquote used supercars. Is that kind of the bread and the butter of this kind of format?
Yeah, yeah. Used supercars, we do great with collector cars as well. Really anything in between. I mean, you could find anything from a 280 SL Mercedes to a Koenigsegg. Really anything that handles either live auction or online auction, we can also represent online. But people love coming to us for the collector car side.
Yeah, and you have three cars, but two in particular I wanted to talk about that are closing tomorrow as we
Yeah.
post this. So we have this Lexus F Sport handling car, which is pretty cool, 2025, basically brand new sport ute. But the other two are classics. We got a
Yes.
92 928. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of what you want. It's a GTS and it's a 5 speed, right?
Yeah, and these are ex going up extremely high in value now. I mean, it's one of the cars that we've been watching in terms of value rising in the last 5 years. I mean, we just sold one no reserve for $211,000.
Wow.
And this is a 3-year only car. Manual is the one to have. I mean, it really is the grand touring version as a GTS and the V8. So definitely the one to have.
Yeah, what's amazing as we record this, it is at $90,000, so that's a bit of a bargain. But as you know, and I know, and pretty much all the listeners know, is all the action happens in basically the last hour and a half or so, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The last hour, half an hour is really when all the last minute bidders start to crawl in, and everyone likes to wait until the end to see where the bidding action ends up. But with something like this, I definitely think it's a great deal to be had. It comes from a prominent collection, and we can't wait to see what this one does.
That's very cool. And then the other car I just think is so cool. It's the 1962 Fiat Jolly. And those are so cool because, if you go to one of the big auctions, especially Armed Sotheby's in Monterey or in Florida, typically you'll have one of these as kind of, a little fun car. It's not $1 million car, but they'll let a lower price point car in that's cute, quirky, beach themed. This one has the wicker seats. And usually it really rings the bell because if, if, oh, I lost out on the $5 million Ferrari, well, here's a cute little something or other, so where the typical market might be like 60 grand for a car like that, typically they sell for over 100 grand. And this
Yeah.
looks like a really great opportunity on Somo.
Yeah, and it reserved really, really reasonably. The first time I saw one of these was actually with Wayne Carini.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him on TV, and he was driving a Fiat Jolly on one of the show fields. And I mean, you see this at every concours. It's kind of a fun car. It's a neat little way to get into every event. And I mean, you could drive this to the beach. You could drive it around your neighborhood. It's really a cool car.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I'll let you go here in a second because I know you've got a lot of cars closing today. You got to get on the phone with potential bidders and buyers. But just a sneak peek, there is a 296, I'm sorry, 246 Dino as well as a 296 GTB. We got a Gallardo. We have some really cool high-end cars, Mercedes SLR, and I love that Toyota Land Cruiser. So some great options on Somo, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's cars popping up every day, so we normally see between 14 to 20 cars listed every week. It's not really on the volume side that we focus on, but more or less the quality over quantity. So it's really exciting to kind of stay in touch with what everything that pops up every week.
Awesome, Michael. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Imagine a journey so rare it only happened once. That's the spirit behind Once. Exclusive, one time only adventures that will never be repeated. Our next experience, American Muscle Legends, takes you trackside with the most iconic cars in history, complemented by luxury accommodations and behind the scenes access you simply can't buy. Spots are limited. When it's gone, it's gone. You can learn more at discoveronce.com/muscle. RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. All right, now welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. I have another guest on that I'm excited about, mostly because we've interacted sporadically over the years, and he's heavily involved in the podcast world. So wanted to learn a little bit more about what he's up to today. So I'd like to welcome Matt D'Andrea. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Good, good. I appreciate it. I know we talked a little bit beforehand how we see each other at the Quail, and
Yeah.
kind of I follow you on Instagram, you follow me on Instagram, thumbs up and such. And I just thought that'd be nice to have you on because I listen to a lot of podcasts where you're, either the primary or the secondary voice, and so I appreciate you being on the Collector Car Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have such a great show, and it's going to be fun to be on the show. And we've been involved in the collector car space for a long time, and I know we've seen each other at events, seen each other at auctions. I think I don't know, we've probably been working with RM Sotheby's 15, 16 years. I'm
Right.
trying to think of just trying to think of when was the first time we were, myself and Adam Carolla specifically, when we were doing it, he's been working with you guys probably even longer than that. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I remember the first time we met, I was at the Quail. I'm like, "Are you Matt the Motorator?" Just sitting across from you and
yeah.
your son, which I thought was really kind of funny.
We Adam Carolla and I started a podcast called CarCast about 16 and a half years ago. Uh,
Early.
Yeah, very early on. When Adam left radio and was starting a podcast, the Adam Carolla Show, I think it was about 6 months later, he wanted to do something in the automotive space. I wasn't really involved too heavily in that space, more a fan and an enthusiast. And a friend brought me in. His original co-host brought me in and said, you're familiar with a bunch of people in the space and aftermarket companies, and we're putting together a podcast. And would you like to come in and produce it? And I was like, I don't know what that means, but sure, let's give it a shot. Let's figure it out. And then at some point down the road, Adam and I were sitting together and hosting the show together. But it's been a heck of a journey, fun show for sure.
Yeah. Now I know you're on a podcast with Goldberg. Talk about some of the other stuff you're involved with from a car content perspective.
Yeah, our main show is CarCast, and CarCast now has evolved into a twice a week automotive podcast. I don't do it with Adam anymore. Just his schedule has changed. My schedule has changed, but you still see us up in Monterey. We talk to him all the time. There's plenty of car stuff that we do together. But for the last maybe 7 years as well, I've been doing a weekly show with Bill Goldberg, who's a WWE wrestler, former NFL player, big car collector. Has a love affair for Mopar and muscle cars in general. He's been working on a Cobra kit car project for a while that we've been following on the podcast. So that version of our show is more on the enthusiast side. Our projects, more lifestyle show, stuff like that. And then I do a second weekly version of CarCast with a great guy named Alistair Weaver. He's the executive vice president and editor in chief at Edmunds.com. And we've been doing that show for years as well. He was a regular guest on my show with Goldberg, and then we spun it off as a regular show. And that is interesting because that covers everything's sort of in the new car space, like car reviews and EVs and car testing and buying and leasing and just kind of a bit of behind the curtain of the new car shopping world and kind of what happens in the world of like vehicle testing. What do they have to do to test it? How do they produce that content and come up with reliable tests? And Edmunds is kind of special too because they created they created like an EV range test that has now sort of become the benchmark for the industry.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's a robust route of highway and city, and everything's kind of the same and replicated the same, and all their drivers have like the air on 72 degrees, like so it's so you can get kind of a real world testing of EV range testing and compare them side by side. So when you look at vehicles estimates, right, versus the Edmunds test is much more comparable because Porsche's Taycan estimates on range may be different than Cadillac's Escalade,
Right.
on range,
Yeah.
right? Slightly different. Where Edmunds puts everybody through the same test. So that's kind of cool. And then one of the things that came up with them that I really credit them with is so many vehicles you do the track testing,
Right.
like the
Right.
Edmunds test track, and you kind of crunch the numbers on it. Like here's the slalom, and here's the G's, and here's the 0 to 60 test, and so a just straight up drag race head to head wasn't really fair. So
Right.
they created the Edmunds U drags, and I think this really started when they purchased a Shelby GT500 a number of years ago.
Okay.
When the most recent version came out with the paddle shift DTC, I'm sorry, DCT transmission and all of that. So now they turn this into a really amazing thing where they drag race a quarter mile, then they got to get on the brakes, make a U-turn, and drag race back. So it gets the cornering, it gets a lot more than just a drag race in there, and it's so much fun to watch. And of course, for us to be able to talk about it on the podcast, kind of went down what goes down behind the scenes, right?
Right.
How do they
Right.
pit the cars against each other? And as you can imagine, a lot of it is just sort of scheduling and getting two manufacturers to kind of agree to do the race, which is kind of fun and stuff like that. So crazy leaderboard. I want to say the McLaren like 720s and the 765 LT were always at the top of the leaderboard when it came to pure gas engine cars, but you definitely got to pay attention to the leaderboard now because they got the new ZR1 out there. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
might
Yeah,
be,
that's what, 1,061 horsepower or something?
yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's 1061, 62. I don't think it really matters at that
No, at
point,
that point.
right?
No.
And surprisingly, there's some big, heavy, EVs that are at the top of that board as well, like a Lucid Sapphire Air, or was it Lucid
Oh,
Air
yeah. Okay.
Sapphire, right? Yeah. But anyway, so those are the two versions of CarCast that I do every week. Those shows usually come out on Thursday and Monday. Um, and then kind of a fun kind of personal project for me and a couple buddies is I've been doing a podcast called Shift and Steer. I do it with a guy named Brad Fanshaw. He is the co-owner and founder of Bond Speed Wheels. He's an established builder. He's done a number of cars for the OEs at the SEMA show. He's won GM Design Award, Ford Design Award. He was the president of Boyd Coddington Garage, Boyd Coddington Wheels back in the
Right.
day.
Yep.
and I do the show with him and a wonderful guy, Aaron Hagar. You've been
He's a
around the
trip.
quail. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a trip. You'll know his dad, Sammy Hagar from Van Halen and Chickenfoot and so many other bands. But he's just an incredible artist and just the nicest guy in the world. The three of us just spent several days in Vegas at the SEMA show together, and
Yeah.
uh, which is always kind of crazy. But that show was just kind of us telling stories, and the show originated because our fourth man on the show was Pete Shaporis. Pete started SoCal Speed Shop. Well, Pete and Jake's is a hot rod shop and SoCal Speed Shop. A very early, maybe one of the founding members of SEMA. He has passed away a few years ago. SoCal Speed Shop still run by his son and his family, and we still do the podcast. But just having a guy like Pete tell stories back then, just
Yeah.
taking hot rods and going up the Sunset Strip when it was a dirt road,
Right.
just like
Right. Great
some
stories. Yeah,
some amazing
unrepeatable.
stories. So if
Yeah.
you've never even heard the Shift and Steer podcast, it's 11 years, it's over 500 episodes in. But even if you grab a few early episodes with Pete on there, he's just got some amazing stories. So, anyway, yeah, that's the long-winded answer as to sort of what we're doing in the podcasting and content world. It's been a minute. Those shows are old.
So are you 100% content driven at this point? I mean, well, let me take that back. I know we have something cool in the background there, but in general, are you all content all the time?
I do those shows. There's 3 podcasts a week. We've been starting to put more of that stuff up on YouTube as well on the CarCast channel. It's not necessarily my full-time job. I am not one of those hardworking YouTubers that are building cars and buying and selling and just
Yeah.
rebuilding and those guys, man, some of those guys just work so hard and they do some really amazing stuff. That's not where we started. We started in audio content, and
Right.
all of this
Right.
started with Adam Carolla, and
Yeah.
and his business has been largely audio content for so long. Now, he's done a number of TV shows and films and things like that, and he has this documentary division. But no, I do this, and a couple of years ago during COVID, just a sort of a turn in the other direction, started a beverage company called Bravago. It's a hard seltzer company. Just wanted to make something that we thought was good and we can enjoy at events and watching races, and we bring it up to Monterey with us every year. We're at the track, and when we're when nobody's driving, we're having a nice drink.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about that, I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out for sure. Fruity flavors? What kind of flavors are we talking here?
Yeah, so I mean, the short story is there's 3 hard seltzer flavors. They come in a variety 6 packs. So there's just one product you get. There's a reindeer cherry, vanilla orange cream, and a strawberry lemon. Personally, I think they're all fantastic. Light carbonation, so you don't feel bloated. No junk in it. No artificial anything in it. And 5.1% alcohol. They're great mixers as well. We spike them all the time with vodka and or gin or whatever. So, yeah,
Were
enjoy
there
it.
any
Have
other
fun with it.
names from a branding perspective? You said, let's not do that.
When you're starting a company these days, and even when you try to sell products online, it's this combination of like, do you come up with a really good name, and then is it available on social media, and can
Yeah.
you get a domain name? Like you have to do so much more than just name a company. So Bravago, it's Bravago, is something that I made up. We wanted to make a we wanted to make sort of a bold flavor product, right? So unlike any other hard seltzer, White Claw is junk. Truly, it's not for us, right? So we did things a little bit differently. So we knew it was going to be bolder in flavor. And then talking with a guy like Goldberg as well, who's been such a, I don't know, action-oriented guy. We both love racing, and he was an NFL player and a longtime WWE wrestler. So I wanted to sort of show that action. So I took bravado, meaning bold, and go, showing action. And bravago It's like bold action. That's where the name came from.
That's interesting because back in my food days, I worked for Kraft Foods when they bought Cadbury, and they had a contest and to name the company. And I knew it had to be, I forgot what the other, they had some product that came out, and I used the mindset behind that product. It was like, oh, they're going to use Latin words, they're going to mean something hidden, whatever. And so I forgot the one that I put out there, and you could win a prize or something. And they came up with the Mondelez, which is the company today, and they used exactly the logic I thought of. Two Latin words put together. I think that means like healthy earth or something. It wasn't,
Yeah,
so I picked the wrong words. But strangely enough, two people in the company actually picked that for the name, and they won like a trip somewhere or something. So,
that's
uh,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not the easiest process like doing that, coming up with a name like that. Especially like if you think about it in the car world, when you sit down and go, we're coming up with the name of a company, the logo, the branding, it needs to last forever, and then you come up with Acura, for example,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Like nailed it. There's nothing else like it, and
And then you take
makes
like
sense.
Jaguar and you destroy a brand name.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's some things like that are more literal like that, like Jaguar
Right.
going, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
some roots there or whatever. But then you have something like BMW, which, yeah, obviously has a deeper meaning, but now it's just been sort of diluted down to BMW, right?
Yes. Yeah. And there's so many like that. And Ferrari
Yeah.
kills me because, the 458 used to be 4.5 liter eight cylinder, and the 355 was a 3.5 liter, 5 valves per cylinder, and now
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know what they mean, 812, I don't know, eight cylinder, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Right.
so
And
yeah,
Dodge was Dodge Brothers, Ford has a Ford family,
yeah,
GM now just is silly, right? I mean, we all don't care because we all know what it is. It's GM, it's General Motors, but it's like, well, I'm sure there's a story behind it, but it just seems so generic. It's not like,
yeah,
like Acura or something, or I mean, Ferrari, right? What a great name and what a
yeah,
great brand they built around that name. Lamborghini as well, and there's so many others, right? There's probably dozens that people haven't even never even heard of that you're familiar with, being in,
yeah,
so deeply ingrained in the collector car world and the buying and selling, and still to this day, like how many times do we walk around? At least for me, myself, Adam Carolla, walk around the lawn at Pebble Beach and go, "What's that? I've never even seen that. I've never
right,
even heard of that before." Maybe
yeah,
if you've heard of the car company, but you've never seen the car because it's the only one with some coach-built version of whatever. Uh, and yeah, just kind of interesting how
yeah.
there's
Then you got
still that.
previous podcast guest Jeffrey Hacker bringing all the fabulous fiberglass cars from the 50s nobody's ever heard of, and he has his
Yeah.
own, three or five cars out there. Like, what the heck is that thing? So, well, speaking about the Ford family, I did want to talk cars with you, and let me go through the list behind you here in this picture. So,
Yeah.
left to right, I don't know the year, but SVT Lightning, I would assume, right?
Yeah, that's a 95 Lightning.
And then is it a 93 Cobra R? 93 Cobra?
It's a 93 Cobra. It's not an R.
Okay. And then
This one might stump
91,
you.
91 SAAC?
It
Shelby,
it's a
Shelby,
92 sack car.
yeah,
Yes.
92.
Yeah.
That I want to talk
Good.
more about that. And then
Yeah.
you got
Okay.
what, a Mach 1, the last one?
That is a 2021 Mach 1.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about the SAC car. SAAC, Shelby
Yes.
Automobile.
Shelby American
Ah,
Automobile Club.
that's right. You see, I got this is a legit Shelby banner from the 60s,
Yeah.
dealer banner up there.
Nice.
Um, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I know they only made I'm a Fox-body fan. And in my mind, with the exception of the 93 sailing SSC, one of three convertibles ever made, I would pick your car. And I think that car is totally undervalued.
It is undervalued, and I'm glad that you noticed that. Now, um, I think they made 62 of those. I could be wrong. It could be like 63, but 62. I think it's 62 of those cars. And the Shelby American Automobile Club, the SAC group there, they before the 93 Cobra, they wanted to do a high performance package on that car. So they put together a facility and reached out to Ford, probably Ford Performance at the time or Ford Racing, the aftermarket catalog, and said, let's dig into the catalog. Let's make something that's kind of cool and kind of fun. GT40 intake, GT40 heads, 5 lug conversion, disc brakes.
White with blue
Uh,
stripes, right? To mimic
yeah, and
the
so the very first year was only white with blue stripes, if I recall, and then the second year I think they had a couple different colors and a few convertibles as well.
really.
Um, uh, yeah, you'll find them around. You'll see them pop up a few places. Most of them were naturally aspirated, but with the GT40 intake, and there's a handful of supercharged ones, maybe just a couple.
Okay.
Uh, and you kind of have to dig into the story a little bit more about how this came to be, and it ended up being a fairly expensive car. I want to say when it was done, it was maybe $40,000. Don't quote me on that. Um, and it was an interesting program, but the soon after that, after about 2 years into it, the '93 Cobra came out, which is that other car behind me, and that was basically a lot of the same stuff, similar idea
Hmm.
for $21,000. So the SAC car kind of ended, but to me, it just made it an interesting kind of collectible car. That is number 50. Um,
Okay.
and it had just a few thousand miles on it. Now, unfortunately, this picture behind me was my warehouse that we moved out of, and I did sell off a few of the cars, but
Oh,
because most of them are projects. And then this is kind of interesting. Maybe you can shed some light on this, or give me your opinion on this. So the SAC car was the first car that I bought as a pure collector car that you can't drive because it had like 3,600 miles on
oh,
it. And
wow.
in my
Okay.
head, I'm like, maybe I can get away with putting 100 miles on it. Like, when does it start to make a difference? Does it have
Yeah.
to stay 3608? If it's 3,500, it's 3,800. Does anybody care? But then what if it's 4,000 miles? Like, like when does it really start to make a difference? So I found it frustrating. Like,
Yeah.
I got the car and I, I cleaned it and detailed it and polished it up and really went through like the every little detail. We dry ice blasted all underneath it. Did the engine compartment, door jambs, hood liner. Like, I just cleaned the heck out of the car because it sat for a little while with another collector. Um, and then I just realized I just don't think I can drive it. And then I got frustrated with just having one of I never in my life had a collector car that you couldn't drive, or any car that you couldn't drive. And I don't know. I just don't know that it's for me. So as much as I love that car, I sold it, and I'm actually more interested in maybe picking one up with 30,000 miles and driving it a few thousand miles a year because I really did enjoy driving that car. But every time I drove it, I think I put 30 miles on it or something. But um,
Now, when you drove it, did you have issues like from dry hoses and belts, stuff spewing all the time?
no, everything was pretty good on that car. Like, it was, what it was from a collector in New Jersey that had it. Maybe he was the second owner. Like, it was always kind of garage kept. It was part of a collection with, with someone who would just kind of maintain all of the cars. And I went through, just for me is, if I was going to drive it just for a safety thing, I changed the tires and I changed
Yeah.
all of the fluids,
Yeah.
brake fluid, diff, transmit, just like everything on that, just to kind of freshen it up anyway. And like I said, and just clean the heck out of it, and everything else worked fine. I think there was like a fuse blown for the radio that it replaced and seemed to work, and that was it. And it just had all the good stuff with it, the car cover and the
Oh,
the
that's cool.
bag, the
Yeah.
bag for the uh books and all that stuff, so
It had the best wheels, absolute best wheels on that car.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a cool car. And then the '93 Cobra, I've had a few in my over the years. That one was a build for the SEMA show. Um, and then as I wrapped that car up, actually I have a good friend of mine that's a big Mustang collector. You mentioned some of the rare Celines, like the SSC, which ended up, or the SA10, which they actually only made 9 of.
Okay.
He's got one of those.
I'm not familiar with that one. Is that a Saline?
It's a 93 Celine. I believe it's a 93. It's black with the yellow stripes. It has little heat extractors on the hood toward the back, toward the cowl
Oh
of
yeah.
the hood.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be, I believe, a 10th anniversary car. They were going to make 10 of them. I think he only ended up making 9 of them at the time. That's a rare car. So yeah, a buddy of mine's got a big collection of Fox-body Mustang, 90s cars, right? So good 90s Camaros and Fox Mustangs and stuff. He's got I think a 2003 Lightning that he's kind of a daily driver. But anyway, that red car, I just sold it to him. He hasn't picked it up yet. So and I'm going to be off to the next project as well. So that car was at SEMA years ago. The black Ford Lightning that I do still have was at SEMA as well, maybe 2017. I think the red car was at SEMA 2016. I think the black truck was like 17 or 18. And now I'm going through and redoing a bunch of stuff on that car, on that truck. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago, that Mustang Mach 1 behind me was at SEMA as well. That has the first emissions tested twin turbo kit, a group called
Oh,
Hellion Turbo, work with SEMA Garage and got fully emissions tested twin turbo kit. I think they're just waiting on some final approval or paperwork or something. Um, and a bunch of carbon fiber audio system, Steeda suspension, lowered a bit, and that car was also the car was the prototype for the hood that we developed with Anderson Composites that has kind of a scoop on it,
oh,
and
right, right.
but it's all carbon fiber. So
Well, I
uh,
fell in love with Fox bodies because the actual first V8 Mustang I ever drove was an 86 50,
yeah,
and that was a ton of fun. Ththey're not the they're they sound faster than they really are, So
100%. Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just looking up in the valuation trends here. 1993 Ford Mustang Saline SC supercharged. Now they didn't make a lot of them in 93. I don't know the exact numbers, but number one condition, $228,000, up 18%.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. I think if you
Wow.
found an SA10, I think that would be probably a little north of $250,000.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a pretty rare car, pretty special car. And again, uh, do they have any miles on them? What kind of conditions are they? Are at this point, I'm sure all of them are in well
Yeah.
kept
Bubble wrapped. And
collections. Yeah, yeah,
it's funny because you mentioned the mileage piece, and I kind of feel like there's tiers. Like it depends on
yeah,
the car
yeah.
too,
What's your
but
thought on that?
yeah, under 1,000 miles, you don't want to go above that, but
Yeah,
1,000 to 3,000, I feel like you could probably go up, keep it under five, almost like 2,000 mile increments. If you're at five, you can go to just under seven, but above seven, then it starts dinging you. Then once you hit 11,000, 10,000 miles, not nearly as much. Um,
yeah,
hey, I have a friend of mine. He has three 1994 Mustang pace cars. And the first one has 11,000 miles because that's his driver. The second one has, I think, 58 miles, and it's in the wrapper. Like even the convertible top still has the plastic covering it, the seats covered in
yeah,
plastic.
yeah.
I'm like, well, why do you have the third one? He's like, because I thought, whatever, the 38-mile one was the lowest mileage one, and then this one with 14 miles came up, so I bought that one. So he has two he can't drive, and then he has 11,000 mile one he can drive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have the means, you have the space and
Yeah,
the
why
money
not?
that
Yeah.
you can get a few, then for sure. But that was a lot of work to have these cars and then build them for doing a podcast and stuff. We've done a number of project cars and we work with a bunch of great partners and sponsors. So building up these cars is not my business. I'm not normally I don't have a shop where I build cars. These were all
Right.
personal projects of mine. So everything is just expensive and kind of money losing for me. So I build up these cars, and then for me to do another one, I've got to sell off something.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Look,
sure.
hopefully there'll come a day where I don't have to do that. But in the meantime, I do. So the most recent project is going to be that 95 Lightning. That one runs, and we've done some kind of fun custom stuff to it. A little bit more with something you'd see at the SEMA show and something a lot less you would see at like Monterey Car Week or Goodwood or something. But we scanned parts of the car, we 3D printed like mirrors and door handles and got them to fit the way we wanted, and then machined
Wow.
them out of billet, and took the it's a standard cab truck. But it had a quarter window on, on the door. So we eliminated that and went to a one-piece glass conversion, which allowed us to move the mirrors a little bit forward on the door, some things like that. And then then I've got a bunch of parts that are going onto it soon. We've got a full suspension kit and rack and pinion steering conversion. We've got adjustable shocks, cockpit adjustable shocks that are going on it. It's meant to be period correct, so it's got the original like GT40 intake, but the engine, which is a 351 based Ford, is the new one is it's a 351 block, but now it's 427 cubic inches, and it's all aluminum. It's a dart block, aluminum dart head. So we're going to take probably 100 or so pounds off the front of that truck.
Mm.
It's going to have a big supercharger on it as well. And, we're going to go from 235 horsepower to 800.
So is this to possibly make some aftermarket parts that are available to other people? Is it just for fun and show?
I'm not in the business of making aftermarket parts for sale. We made a few parts for it, and I thought about um, teaming up with someone and making them available. The door handles you could probably do; those are pretty much bolt on, and it's a really nice billet door handle. It eliminates the cast potted metal and the rubber plasticky button that's on there. It's got a nice billet button, and we 3D printed like a sleeve, so it slides real smooth. That you could probably do, but we're not quite there yet. For Gen 1 Lightning owners to buy $500 door handles.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, 3 years ago, Fox-body fans weren't that way, and then go around the SEMA show this year, and there's $200,000-$300,000 Fox bodies being built and roadster shop chassis and
Yeah.
supercharged Coyote swaps. You get $30,000 engines. So who knows? Maybe the Lightning will get there. The mirrors I think would be very cool to do, but it's just not an easy installation. We try to make it so it would bolt on, uh, but you have to kind of put a plate on the back of the door, and you have to put some threaded studs in there. But to do that, there's a threaded plate in the door, and it's kind of spot welded in. You have to drill those out and remove that plate.
Okay. Yep.
And then you'd probably have to remove the glass to get your hand back there to do it. So
Yeah. A lot.
we try to do it,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, we needed to pick, do we want a bolt-on mirror, or do we want something that fit the design of what we were going for? So I just went with custom. And
Yeah. Now, so I know of a Lightning Red that's got like 5,500 miles on it, but it's like in a warehouse where it's kind of deteriorating. I should probably follow up, see if that might be available for you guys to chop up and do something fun with.
yeah, or if it's been sitting there and it's got, like you said, a fair amount of miles, like a low to mid-range miles on it, they're going to go up in value. I mean, if it's got all the original parts on it, and there's some very unique things, the seats and the center console and the bumpers and stuff like that. And, if it's got all of that stuff on it, that's a great entry level investment car. You start talking about in the collector
Yeah.
car world, probably not something that crosses your desk, but, in the 15 to $30,000 range, you can find these Lightnings. And if you can bring them back and restore them, it's a fun truck. Uh, in that same vein, like the 454 SS that was around that era as
Yeah.
well. That's a cool, I know everybody's thinking like Typhoon and Cyclone. Those are cool trucks, but those are getting up there in value
Yeah.
now, right? Like clean ones are, I don't know, 100 grand, close to
Yeah.
100 grand, something like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you can get anything for less than 50 or 60,000, where, something like the Gen 1 Lightning you can get for half that.
Yeah. Yeah. So where's the love for early 90s Fords? Where'd that come from?
It didn't start to be Ford specific. My first car was an '87 Camaro that I bought used, and I liked it. And then when I can afford
Was
the,
it a stick shift with the big round,
it
cue
was,
ball?
yes, it was, but it was the 305. Um, but it was slow. It was V8. It was manual. It was a fun, T-top car. It was just, did a
Yeah.
little work on it, did a few mods on it. But to get that car to go fast back in the day, it's like you just got to do like, you know, big displacement. You got to just start
Yeah.
adding stuff to it.
Right.
Um, and then, the 93 Cobra was announced it was coming out. And, for me, in high school, working two jobs, going, oh man, can I afford this car? It's, 20 something thousand bucks, 21, 22,000 bucks. Working a couple of jobs back then, and managed, got a little help, managed to get one. So my first 93 Cobra was new in 93.
Wow.
And I was living in South Florida at the time, and unfortunately, that car got stolen and completely stripped, like
Oh,
completely stripped. And they took the unibody and even chopped it in half so they can just like dump it in the back of like a panel truck.
so that
It's
car's
still
gone.
it's gone. Yeah, so we found it. So we found just like the unibody shell, and nobody thought about it at the time. Like, what could that be worth? So, you try to get the insurance money and you move on in life, right? And especially when you're a high school kid, you don't have any money. Like, what do? You're devastated. Um, but love that car. I got the bug for Mustangs with that car. Years later, when I was an adult, I tried to contact the insurance company and go, how do I buy back whatever this car is? Like, how do I just buy back like the VIN number or something with the car? And even then, they were like, we weren't even using computers back then. You're like, the
Oh,
agent
wow.
had
Yeah.
it on paperwork. That agent, like, I don't even think that dude was alive. He probably passed away. And they're like,
Right.
that office has been closed. Like,
Yeah. You're
there's no
SOL.
paperwork. So that
Yeah.
car is just gone, like so gone. There's no way of like digging that out because I tried. I was just like, I could just build one and just like tell the story about it and, see if
Be
I
a
can
great
revive,
story. Yeah.
that, find, something on that car. But just too old, too gone.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah. So what about SN95s?
Yeah, cool. Didn't own many in that space. The next gen, the new Edge, had a Cobra uh convertible. Like that car. And then since then, it was just uh, building up relationships with all the car companies. And then, I don't know, just sort of a natural fit for me to build a strong relationship with Ford. So since then, I've been, lucky enough to be invited out to a number of their events and drive a bunch of their cars and get the press vehicles. We just went to the SEMA show and back in the Ford Bronco in the Strop edition,
Oh,
the Bill
wow.
Strop edition
Yep.
car. And
Those are
I'm sure you
cool.
know some history on that. Of course, I'm driving down the strip. If you guys have seen this car, it's the two-door Bronco, and it's paying homage to a guy named Bill Strop who modified Broncos. It's Baja stuff, but it's orange with white
And a
and
blue top.
black,
Right.
and
Oh,
yeah,
black. Okay.
yeah. So I'm driving down the strip, leaving, and bunch of guys roll up to me in an Escalator, like, "Are you a Denver Broncos fan?" I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Oh no." I was
Oh.
like, "No, it's a Strop edition. It's a Baja thing." And they were like, it's fine." And they just drove away. And I
Are
was like,
those
"Oh,
Raptor based or you can get it not a
it's not Raptor based, but it
okay.
but it has some upgrades, like Fox shocks and stuff that are on the Strop edition, right?"
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was at the launch in Marietta, Georgia for the big unveil of the SN95s in 94. And they
Okay.
had the car in the courtyard of a Marriott, and all the local car clubs showed up. I think I saw pictures of it. And they unveiled it, and I was like, eh. I just it wasn't my cup of tea. Now that when they did the Terminator,
Yeah.
is it Terminator later that
Yeah, the
the new
Terminator
Edge
Cobras.
design
Yeah.
that cleaned it up quite a bit for me, and I liked it more.
Do you
So
remember do you remember before the SN95 came out, they were like, "We're not sure if we're going to do the Mustang."
the
The
probe was supposed
future
to
was
be
the
it.
Ford Probe. They're like,
Yeah.
"That's our
Yeah.
future." And then people were like, "It is not.
Yeah.
It is not your future." And
Try to
I think
find a four probe now.
I know. I think the people were right. I think the people were right. Another car that has been getting my attention recently, like just thinking about the topic of affordable cars that are a little bit unique, like the 95 Lightning. I'm digging right now the 2003 and 2004 Mercury Marauder,
Oh yeah,
right?
black and what is it?
They did a
Only black?
silver, they did a silver, they did like a maroon red and a very rare blue, but
Okay,
most of
I'm
them were
getting that
black.
confused with the Impala because the Impala had like that purple, it had the
Yeah.
black. Yeah,
But
okay.
I think like 11,000 or 11,500 Marauders were made over 2 years, and 8,000 of them were black. So it's
Yeah,
rare to get any of the other colors. You'll
yeah.
see silver pop up like on Marketplace and stuff. But, that car had the mod motor from the Cobra. The mod motor that started in the Cobra, then it was in the Mach 1, like 2003 Mach
Oh
1,
yeah,
which had the
yeah,
little hood scoop attached
yeah.
to the engine. It's something like 320 horsepower, four valve overhead cam engine in it. That's what the Marauder had with a four-speed automatic and four seats, right? Like, wasn't really fast and it kind of looked like a cop car, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, kind of interesting. I think that Panther platform that was on this it had rack and pinion steering, so I think anything before that probably didn't. So yeah, it was just kind of getting into some interesting features. And
It's
I
fun.
think you can get those things for you probably get a really nice one for 30 grand or less,
Yeah.
and then everything else is probably cheaper than that. So yeah.
Well, that whole platform there, because a friend of mine, he's got like 25 cars and yeah, Shelby's and all sorts of stuff, Jaguars, and his daily driver is like a 2005 Lincoln Continental, the same
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
platform, and he's like, I love this thing because it is like a couch on wheels, back then when you could actually
Yeah.
not even feel the speed bumps. And I ran into one the other day. I probably should have bought it, but it was the Jack Nicholas edition. And so it was
Okay.
emerald green with tan Cordova roof, two-tone green and tan interior, and 40,000 miles. You opened the trunk and it had green and tan Jack Nicklaus golf club bag, unused. Everything was right there. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not that old yet, but I thought that's kind of neat, just a period thing that's you never see.
Yeah. So I gotta ask because we haven't caught up in a while. What's in your garage?
So I've got a unrestored 66 Pontiac GTO.
Cool.
Bought it from the original family, and the guy special ordered it to match his race car. So it's tiger gold with a custom from the factory red pinstripe and 389 tri-carb 4-speed AC car, which is rare.
Yeah.
And that thing is super sweet. I just bought a 65 K code hypo Mustang convertible.
Okay.
Found that in California accidentally, just having a conversation with a guy that said, I gotta get rid of this hypo Mustang. And I was like, well, tell me more about this hypo Mustang. I
Yeah.
wasn't looking for it. And I got my wife a little Boxster S '05. It had
Okay.
never really been driven, 1,900 miles on it, and
Wow.
6 speed. And that's a great little car. Those things are really nice. And it's got about 5,000 miles on it now. So that's it.
Yeah.
Just a
That's
couple little
good.
cars there.
Yeah. Now, do you have like a daily driver that's, just like great to drive? Like,
2014 Toyota FJ.
I was gonna say, yeah, do you drive like a Toyota or Lexus or something?
I love the
Yeah.
Toyota FJ.
Yeah.
We 111,000 miles. I want to take it another 100,000 miles because 14 was the last year. And so we've had it since 16. And I'm just going to keep on. I just put on new running boards on it. I just love that
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How
Good.
about what's your daily?
This is kind of interesting, I guess. It's a 2022 F-150 Lightning. So I have the old Lightning and then I have the new electric truck
Oh,
Lightning.
yeah. Okay.
Now,
Yep.
that one was just supposed to be a daily driver, but we ended up doing some work on it and it went to the SEMA show last year. It was my fifth SEMA car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that
cool.
one was a little bit easier to do because we lowered it and then did a bunch of stuff, work with Real Truck on they launched a new running board with an LED light on it, power step vision, I think. So we launched that, power tonneau covers and did some bike rack stuff on it. And I it has some Shelby wheels on it, and I did a big brake conversion. It's got big Brembo brakes in the front, and yeah, it's a cool truck.
So at SEMA, who do you show your stuff with? Who does
So
it vary?
yeah, different partners. So we've done a few vehicles that ended up in the MagnaFlow booth, MagnaFlow
Yeah.
exhaust. This one was Real Truck. That Mustang Mach 1 was with Anderson Composites as well. And then the Mach 1 also showed up at like Fabulous Fords Forever and Long Beach Grand Prix. So you do a bunch of different events with the cars when they get built.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like any other car fanatic, I'm sure I've got a list of cars. Like I might have to sell my Pontiac GTO, not because I want to, um, but because there's these cars I see coming available privately that I wouldn't mind having a shot at, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that would be nice. Oh, that'd be nice. Oh, that'd be nice, you know?
Yeah,
So
right?
yeah, yeah, because a lot of the stuff we come across isn't available to take to either auction or it's difficult private sale, and it just goes elsewhere. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to have a shot of that, you know?
So when you talk about things that you kind of like pick up for your own personal collection, did you go ahead and throw a bid on that 62 Ferrari 250 GTO that you sold for $52 million?
No, I did not. Well, if I did, it was all mental. But yeah, I did drive
like
that, and I while I was driving it, the son was filming me three or four deer across the road. He told me to slow down quickly, so you don't want to wreck a $50 million car right before it sells.
yeah, right. Yeah, you definitely don't
No,
want to.
no. You know, it's the thing about cars though. It's you want to try new stuff, you know? And so I definitely fell in love with limited edition all aluminum Ferrari race cars that day, but I don't know that I'll ever be able to buy one, but at least I can try to enjoy them through others,
Yeah.
right?
You know, a collector car that I've been cheering for a while. I keep going, this is going to go up. This is going to go up. You guys are missing the boat on this. And it probably hasn't really gone up in years, but I I just think we're missing out on the XJ220. I
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Yeah.
I think there are some supercars that are really kind of bringing. So in the collector car world, like the world that you're in, the big brother brings up the little brother, right? Like every time a Gullwing goes for more money, you know, like the 280 goes for a little bit more money, right?
Right.
Like it just brings up. And I'm looking at in the world of you know 80s and 90s supercars and where they're starting to go. What's happening with Ferrari? What's happening to Porsche? You know, look at Porsche 911. Look at air cooled. The end of air cooled
Right.
911 turbos, Turbo S's, like where they're going. And I'm going, we're we're sleeping on the XJ220. You know, I just think that's you know, the wheels date it a little bit. And I think people kind of like frown upon the twin turbo six, but like look at a Ford GT, like Ford GT, six cylinder, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. Um,
Yeah, I totally agree with you because it's such an iconic, beautiful, ageless design, you know? And obviously it never got over the fact that it doesn't have a V12, which they advertised. But it
yeah.
was faster than the F40 in
Yeah.
period. It was faster than almost everything in period. You know, you look at F40, they're hitting $4 million now, and the XJ220s at 450 to 650, depending on colors
Yeah.
and
I was going to say they're probably around 500,000 bucks. Yeah. So
yeah.
probably right in the middle there. Yeah.
But it also should have been called the XJ217 because it never hit 220 miles an hour.
Maybe with a little tailwind or downhill or something, or you know, we're tire technology today. Maybe we can get it to 220. I did meet a guy at the Quail, I think it was 2 years ago, that had an XJ220, and then I don't want to say he took it to a hot rod shop, but he definitely took it to a restorer and high performance shop, and he said, "Let's make the XJ220 a modern version of this." So they went through and like rebuilt the engine and modern day turbos and revised the suspension and did like remote reservoir shocks and all kinds of, you know, adjustable stuff and just turned it into you know, like, and I hate to say this every single time, sort of the singer
Right.
of
Right.
XJ220s, right? Like I it seems like we beat that term to death all the time, but probably still a badge of honor. Like everybody
Right.
wants to be the singer of everything, right? You walk around the Quail these days. There's Superleggera doing 550s, and you know Roof's been around for a while, but what they're doing, and then just the Alfa Romeo company popped up, and Cayenne, the Volvo company popped up. Like everybody's doing sort of reimagining, if you will, of something new. And they're all done great. Like there's some amazing cars out there, but without Singer, do we have any of those? I don't know. But
Well, that's an interesting point because, um, you got to pick your base carefully. Your base car, like where can you source from? That's why I've been impressed with Revology doing as well as they have because of the price point of a Mustang. The price point of
yeah,
a 911 is much higher, obviously. And I saw someone locally here in Ohio. They had done a really incredible job on a 914 Singer-esque with like carbon fiber panels that look like Brutus.
yeah,
Like, dude, you ought to just go in business and making that. But he's like, hey, you know how many 914 guys are going to spend 400 grand for a car? Well,
yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
point. You got
yeah.
to think about the base.
That is tough. But I mean, companies like Revology and Velocity and Restorations, like they're doing 250,000 dollar cars. They're not doing $800,000 cars, right? What is that? Superleggera does their version of like a 550 carbon
Those are
fiber
nice.
body.
I
Yeah,
saw that
that's a
at
nice
Quail last
car,
year. I
right?
thought that
That's a
was
nice
really,
car, but
yeah.
what's the price point on that thing? It's like 800,000, something like that.
Yeah, and I was just at the Hilton Head Concours, and they had an all gorgeous carbon fiber, basically an Eleanor, but it wasn't an Eleanor. It was a gorgeous, like maroon, but you could see the carbon weave through it, metallic maroon with carbon weave. Stunning car. I think it's called Classic Recreations
Yeah,
or
classic recreations.
Velocity, right?
Well,
They bought them.
the carbon fiber one that you're talking about was Classic Recreations. You're right. I'm not sure who owns it now, but
It's like,
Classic Recreations did have a license with Shelby. A guy named Jason Engel had started that company. He since sold it, and he's got a new company called Trick Rides. And it was a limited run of the full carbon fiber body versions of that, and yeah, expensive. Yeah,
580.
yeah,
Yeah.
five. Yeah, that's about
It
right.
was gorgeous, though. I was like, I'm so tired of Eleanors. I'm all on board with what you're doing here. This is pretty slick.
That car was slick. That the thing about the Eleanor cars, first of all, I like what it did to the industry. It kind of brought back like let's do something kind of interesting and fun and modifying these cars, and it took sort of the classic cars and turned them into wild builds, right? So it created a lot of attention. I'm a fan of motorsports movies like that too, like Rush and F1. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm a fan because it just elevates Ford v Ferrari. It just like elevates the industry that we spend so much time in and we enjoy, right? The Ferrari movie, unfortunately, wasn't that good, but I still like that it happened. Uh,
I think it was
yeah,
better than the Lambo movie.
yes, which nobody saw, which nobody
When you
saw.
have a Countach going against a 400i and the Countach is losing, I'm like, you didn't even get the cars right? So,
Yeah, right. That's kind of the issue. And then the Ferrari movie was such a long project that Michael Mann was working on. Um, Adam had interviewed Michael Mann on the Adam Carolla show, and it's a great story to hear about how that was came to be. And then the movie came out and it didn't do that well. And then,
yeah.
fortunately for Adam, he did the interview before the movie came out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, uh,
Well,
but yeah, I like all of that. I
I've
like all
always
of that
loved
stuff.
I always loved the Eleanor. I thought it was just a beautiful car. I just think it's so overdone and there's so many crappy Eleanor cars out there and it's just overdone. Like give me the original any day of the week?
Yeah. So what I think hurt that car was so many companies were trying to like capitalize on the popularity of that car. People were making body kits, and some companies were trying to do licenses, and then they were going out of business, and then somebody else was trying to get a license, and then eventually a judge ruled that you don't even need a license because it's a character of a car. It's not like the family from the original movie. Like so now something rolls across the auction block and you go, the officially licensed Eleanor car, built 10 years ago. And then you got one that's not officially licensed. Like, doesn't really matter that much. Like, I get somebody paid for that license at the time, but it doesn't, which was an expensive license. It was like $30,000 a car, something like that. It's an expensive license. It, the value of that license doesn't really carry over quite as much. And now you're just buying the quality of the build, right? Because
Yeah.
there were some really crappy built officially licensed cars, and there are some that are really, really good,
Yeah.
coyote swapped and things
Yeah.
like that. And you're going, oh, that's got all the good parts and the great craftsmanship, and the gaps are right, and the hood's not wavy. It's like that's the car you're spending money on. So yeah, you'll go to auctions and you'll see the $200,000 Eleanor and you'll see the $400,000 Eleanor. Unfortunately, from 30 feet away, they look the same, but when you get up close, you see the difference. So if you have an expensive one, you just want to show it to everybody up close.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
go,
had a buddy
"Well,
want me to look at an Eleanor locally the other day, and the guy wanted like 350, and I'm like, I walked away and I said, I got to assume this is based on a six-cylinder coupe, not even
Mhm.
a fastback, because they can put those tops on. And all right, if I start with a six-cylinder coupe, is there $300,000 worth of craftsmanship in parts and engine and equipment? I said this could be $150,000. I mean, I'm not going to give my opinion on something where I think the wiggle room is 200 grand. They're
Yeah.
just hard. They're hard.
Yeah, they are. They're hard. The
Yeah.
one thing that bugged me about it was the hood. I was never a fan of the hood. It's too big and wedgy and kind of other than clearance for the engine, which it didn't really need when that car came
Right.
out. It's like it's just kind of a goofy hood. It wasn't functional.
I thought that was your
Um,
cat in the background. That's my cat.
that's your cat. That's your cat. Um, and I think a company like Classic Recreations fixed that. They ended up going
Right.
with like more of a Shelby style hood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, what's coming up in your world? Will you be at any? I know you just came from SEMA. What do you have rest of the year kicking off into next year?
It's a good question. We're still kind of downloading from SEMA. We grabbed a handful of interviews that we're still rolling out on the CarCast podcast that we grabbed live from the show for some incredible builders. Jason Engel that we mentioned about his new company Trick Rides. Steve Strope, who's an amazing car builder. The Ring Brothers. They just did that Aston Martin that launched at the Quail.
Yeah.
That
What
thing
do you
is
what do you think of
phenomenal.
that? Because I did do an interview with them at the Quail.
Well, I've known them for a long time. They're good friends of mine. I just spent a lot of time with them at SEMA. Uh, just the nicest group
Oh yeah.
as well. Those guys are so awesome. The amount of work and that went into that car, we don't even have time to go through it. I think they did a phenomenal job on that car. There's very little Aston Martin left. I think like a VIN plate and window regulators,
Yeah.
but
Right.
that's all carbon fiber. So to do that now, y- to get a car that precise in carbon fiber as a custom build, if you think about it, like that is probably tougher than doing it in metal. Like if you're doing it in
Yeah.
metal and the gaps aren't perfectly right, you can shave it down a little or add a little weld and get the door gaps right. And the carbon fiber, you make the piece and it's not perfect, you're back to square
You're
one. You got
making
to
another
start over.
piece.
So
Yeah.
um, those guys going from evolving as hot rod builders, of just being amazing metal crafters, which they still are, to getting into this world of carbon fiber and machined pieces and scanning and CAD and there's so many great hot rod shops that are doing that too. But they were fortunate enough to have a client come to them and go, I want to build a Ring Brothers car. And they said, what do you want? And they're like, I don't know. What do you guys want to do? And they said, I don't know, maybe not another Mustang. And he goes, how about an Aston Martin? How about a
I think
71
that's brilliant.
DBS?
It's such a
And
gorgeous car. Oh,
and it was a great interpretation of that. Um, they did such a great job. And if you think, by the way, that car is a transaxle. So like the Ben Collins, a Stig before SEMA, they took it to a track and did a track day with some crazy supercars. And then when that was done, Ben Collins was like, I just want to do laps in this thing. He's got more laps in that than anything. If you saw that car at the floor on the SEMA show, um, the, those tires are damn near toast already. Like
and those
when
are the
they're
sexiest wheels on a car I think I've ever seen. Those things are amazing.
amazing, right? And all based off of what was on that car originally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking that and interpreting it to something modern. Um, Funny, even so, my podcast, Shift and Steer podcast that I do with Brad Fanshaw that owns Bond Speed Wheels. When I was doing my Lightning project, which has kind of that turbine fan kind of wheel on the 95 Lightning, I told Brad, I said, we're going to SEMA. We need to make some wheels. So we scanned the original wheels, the cast 15-inch wheels or 16-inch wheels. And he custom made a set of billet 18-inch wheels, but they're staggered nines and tens, front and rear. and they're directional, where the cast one's one left and right side.
Oh,
So
right.
now they're staggered and they're directional and they're 18-inch, and we fit big Willwood brakes underneath. So when that car was at the SEMA show, people from 100 feet away would go, "That's a Lightning. I can tell by the wheels." And then
Oh,
when they get
right.
up on it, going, "Oh, that's really cool. That's a
Yeah.
modern version of the wheel. It was painted silver. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
chrome or anything. It was like we just made a really, really nice version." And then when we did all the press on that vehicle and all the photos, so many people on the forums and Facebook groups were like, "How do I buy those wheels?" I'm like, "We can make them for you, but here's the price. It's the price. It's the
Right.
value of your truck is right now." And people are like,
Right.
"Oh, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want
Yeah.
to, I don't want to do that." That's the hang up on it. Is like,
Yeah.
yeah, you could buy a truck for $10,000, or you could buy a set of wheels.
Yeah.
So for Ring Brothers to work with HRE, again and again, and I've worked with them many times as well. The Mach 1 in that photo is HRE wheels as well. They're a great company. Bond Speed's a great company, but yeah, you kind of have to do some really special. You got to get creative,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, so where will we see you? Like what anything rest
So
of this year?
thanks. So this year I think we're just wrapping up with LA Auto Show. That's on the new car side of stuff, the
Okay.
stuff that I
Yep.
do with Edmunds. We're going to be releasing more of the SEMA interviews, the new car stuff, and then we'll see. We'll be back at it again next year it'll be year 17. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of stuff to talk about.
For
You
sure.
know, we love to get out to Goodwood, but that's always tough with the schedule for us. Monterey we do every year for sure. Adam Carolla does racing up there, so that's always a fun trip. But I'm not sure what else is going to be on the docket yet.
Oh, before you go, we haven't talked about it. Oh my gosh. So his Paul Newman 911.
Yeah, so Adam's collection of Paul Newman racing cars actually includes 15 of the Newman cars. 14 of them, I believe, are I think it's 14, along with some of the memorabilia are at the Reno Automotive Museum. So if you're in Nevada, you can check that out. There's some racing suits and helmets. It's a really, really great collection. One of the cars that was acquired fairly recently, I don't know, like in the last year, is with a friend as part of his collection in Texas currently. That's Paul Newman drove a Ferrari 308, has the rare like fiberglass body 308 with Budweiser, and he teamed up with some of his friends because they would just like to drink beer. So the transporter was like a panel truck that the Ferrari would go into, and I believe it said that the drivers were Paul Newman, Clint Eastwood, and James Brolin.
Right.
And the team manager was uh, who am I thinking of? Gene
Hackman?
Hackman. Gene
Oh my
Hackman was
gosh.
like
He's
they were
just
just
there for
drinking.
beers.
They're all there for beers, and so we were fortunate enough that to add the Ferrari and the transporter to Adam's collection. So yeah, there's 15 Paul Newman cars. He's
So
got the
what's
935.
yeah, what's the
That's the Le Mans
911?
Kitty car.
The
The, the, there's
74?
a 74 911S.
So here's my you want to hear my story on that? So here's my
Yeah.
story on that. My dad and my parents were living in Holly Springs, Georgia, and whenever I would come to visit there on Highway 140, going towards Canton, on the right-hand side, there was this old body shop, and it was chain link fence and gravel. But there'd be these crazy cars sitting out front every once in a while. Like I drive by and it's all junk. Drive by and there's a Mura. Drive by and I could never stop because it was so tight with family visits. It was
Yeah.
always at Thanksgiving, and it was killing me. I can't stop and see these cars. And finally, one year I was in town just for fun and I had time, and I pulled over there. There was nothing in there at the time, and the body shop guy, I'm drawing a blank on his Roy. Oh, he was the paint man. Anyways, the guy gives me a tour, and it's all rare stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. He's like, hey, you want to see Paul Newman's Porsche? I'm like, all right, why not? And so go into the back, and that car is there being restored. It's in primer, and I took some pictures,
Okay.
and he had like a lightweight alloy Jaguar and some rare stuff. And then a couple years later, I see it at Mika Mindy. And the owner was telling me, he's like, hey, if you want to sell this privately, this is when I started consulting with RM Sotheby's. He's like, yeah, let me know. And I'm like, well, what do you think the car is worth? He's like, oh, Adam Carolla bought that Porsche for 5.5. So if you can give me $5 million, I'd be happy. I'm like, well, that's way out of the crazy
Also,
number.
that one won Le Mans. It won its class at Le
Right.
Mans,
Yeah.
and it's the
Yeah.
winningest 935 in the world. Yeah.
Right. And so this guy
Yeah.
was off his rocker. Well, fast forward another 2 years, I see the car at Mika Mindy up for sale with an estimate of 450 to 550. And I see the painter there. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't know you guys were selling this car. Well, the owner died, had a heart attack at 61 and died or
Yes.
so. And so the painter, Roy, was representing it at Mecum. It was a no sale.
Yes.
And then eventually ended up in you guys and Adam's collection. So I actually have
Yes.
pictures of that car back when it was being restored.
Yes. It was in Monterey at another auction years before that, orange. And
Yes.
it wasn't really in like the Newman livery. It was something else. But it had like the Beverly Hills Porsche thing on it. It was sort of like a hodgepodge of like
Yeah.
somebody put stickers on it, but not the right paint and bodywork. And then, yes, when it went and got restored back to the Newman spec, uh, it I was following the car for years. I spoke to the auction companies. We bid on the car. I spoke to the family, and yeah, it was just wasn't the right time, and I just didn't think it was the right price. But until it became the right time and the right price, and
Yeah.
made some calls, and I was happy to see Adam acquire that
The
vehicle.
other
Like, I
the
was
other
able to
car,
make
yeah, the
that
other
happen.
car there that was running and driving, I wish I'd bought it, was like a 57 Ferret. Like they made like five of them and they were British,
Okay,
magnesium bodied, like a little Climax engine
magnesium
in it.
body.
Yeah, only made
Wow.
five of them. And I just saw one at a in a art gallery. But anyways, running and driving, I lost track of that car. I would have loved to. If you Google like 57 Ferret, it's dark green. There's video of YouTube of this guy driving around and it sounds like a monster.
Yeah,
Just a
that's got to
high
be
revving
cool.
little four cylinder. So, well, Matt, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank
It's about
you.
time we
Yeah.
caught up.
Wow, this went quick.
I know.
We just got on a roll there for a minute. Yeah.
One of my
Awesome.
longer interviews, which I really love it because the passion's there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And looking forward to the next event.
I'll be sure to see you at Quail if nowhere else.
Yep.